Hey guys, Kendall here with NLC Production, and today I wanted to talk about scenes on the Pro 2 or the Pro Series console that many of us are using around the campuses. So on the console, if you use it normally, you'll start up the console, you can go to your automation and then hit it one more time, goes to filing. Filing will bring up your shows and your preset files. It's good to go ahead and load those if they are not loaded. And then from there you go back to the automation by hitting the automation button again and have your scenes. So one thing that we've noticed is a lot of people do that first step, but they don't ever go and actually load a scene. And if you ever look at the very top of your console and it says safe, safe is actually a scene that's just that. It's a safety net for you for whatever's happening on the console. So when the console gets shut down, if it's shut down properly, it's going to come back up loaded how it was. If for any reason it loses power, any issue like that, if for whatever reason you unload the show file, it always comes up in the safe file, safe scene, which is the way it was last known to be in. So if you do a whole bunch of stuff, you don't store, you don't do anything like that, you shut the console off by killing power and bring it back up, it's going to be exactly how it was before you shut it down. And that's the safe scene. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just go ahead and kill power to the system. If you guys want to go ahead and hit the off button down there. It'll take a little bit for our system here at GLR to cycle through. We're going to let it shut down without going through the process of shutting it down. While we're doing that, we're going to talk a little bit about scenes. So, scene usage is unique to each person. Personally, I like to use scenes for changing like effects parameters, or who's going to a certain effects processor, or maybe what vocal is lead. Especially if I've got a special service where I'm doing a lot of, I'm going to use it for that. For a lot of people, scenes aren't a big thing. They aren't something they want to do. They're used to the analog world, and so they're going to run everything similar to an analog console and use it that way. So they don't really need the scenes per se. So for that one, most people aren't going to use a lot of scenes, but we're going to show you why it's a good reason to recall these things. We'll go ahead and turn the system back on. So what actually recalling the scene is it's going to set, if you have a default, whenever we set up the console, and hopefully if there's any major changes, it's followed along with it, that default scene is going to reset your entire console to how it was the way we left it. At GLR and Conway, we've done it long enough that our default scenes, you can pretty much recall them, and it's a great starting point for you to start mixing. Especially if for some reason you had to come in on the fly, you didn't have a lot of time to get EQs and stuff down, it's really a good place to start. So reloading that not only recalls all the EQs, it also recalls any patching. So if you keep running into issues where you come in, it's like, well, such and such isn't set up this way, or such and such isn't, make sure you're recalling that default scene or a scene that you've saved that we'll talk about in a little bit. So as the console comes up here, that state that it's in right now is how it was before we hit the off button. So if I was to do nothing else, I would be exactly where I was the last time we used this. So if for some reason I'm thinking, man, I really don't know if I want that or not, you could right then hit your automation and filing button, go load your show. So we're going to load our show here, and we're going to load our preset file. We'll talk about that a little bit later, or maybe another video. And the safe scene now shows up at the top. Hit filing or hit automation one more time. We're back to the scenes. So if I wanted to save the state of the console now, which is how it was the last time that it was powered off, I would go to an empty scene and hit save. Call it, unknown one, or whatever you want to call it. Jim Bob's Road, follow it or don't follow it. That will save anything that I've done. So if I don't know for sure that I've saved it, but I want it, I can always do that. However, if I know that I don't, but I come in, the system's off, I'm going to go to my GLR. Here it's GLR default. Click it, it turns yellow, and then I hit the now button, and it will automatically load that scene. Our console is now put back into the default settings. So I know that was really brief, really quick, but just want to talk to you a little bit more on that safe scene setting. Let you know that it's basically how the console shuts down. It's a safety net between shows being loaded and unloaded, and if the console was to lose power, you're not losing what you had even if you didn't save. It's always good to save though. So that's what we're going to talk about, and we'll hit some more here in a little bit. Thanks.